Most of the people that take this pill have no idea. It's quietly pushing their metabolism in the wrong direction, and it puts them at real risk. Let me show you what's actually happening inside your body. I'm holding this little pill in my hand. Doctors have prescribed versions of this little pill, not for years, but for decades. It does lower blood sugar, and it does it fast. It makes the A1C look better, and that's what doctors always look for, isn't it? A1C, that average blood sugar. And on paper, it makes it look like everything's under control. But here's the truth. This pill forces your body to do something it's already struggling to accomplish. And for way too many people, it's leading you towards weight gain, hunger spikes, worsening insulin resistance, dangerously low blood sugar. It kills people with that. Falls, hospitalizations, car wrecks. Very, very serious consequences, and it's sometimes even more serious consequences because sometimes the car wrecks kill more than just the patient. I'm talking about sulfonylureas, Glimepiride. Today I'm going to explain why I don't use those drugs. These drugs look helpful on the outside, but can quietly damage your metabolism on the inside. And I'll show you safer, smarter alternatives you should discuss with your doctor. I'm Dr. Ford Brewer, preventive medicine physician for over 40 years. Now let's get started. Section 1, what sulfonylureas actually do. Sulfonylureas were once considered a breakthrough. They've been around for so long. Some folks have taken them for half a lifetime. Long time. But here's the real problem. They don't make your body healthier. They force your pancreas to work harder even if it can't. Here's the simple version. These pills go straight to your pancreas, specifically to the beta cells in your pancreas. No, you don't need to know that, but some geeks want to. The workers that make insulin, the beta cells. And instead of waiting for your sugar to rise or asking your body what it needs, they flip every switch in the room and yell, "Pump out more insulin now, right now." It doesn't matter when you last ate. It doesn't matter if you skip lunch or a couple of meals. It doesn't matter if you're fasting. It doesn't matter if your sugar's already normal or even low. They force more insulin, whether your body needs it or not. And while that may make the numbers look good on paper, you average out. So if your glucose is high for a while, a day or two, let's get it real, real low with those sulfonylureas and average it out. That's not a conversation with your body anymore. It's a command. And a command your body can't keep up with forever. But again, your doctor's just looking at the average. He or she's not thinking about what you went through. And if the patient's still alive, well, they haven't died yet, so it works for this patient. Really, really bad logic and very unsafe for the patient. Again, these medications can kill. Not only can, they do. Now let me paint you a picture. Imagine your pancreas is an older worker in a small shop. He's faithful, he's steady, he's proud of the work he does, but he's been at it for a while, a long, long time, and he's tired. And he's not as healthy as he used to be, or as strong. Imagine someone leaning over him every single hour with a bullwhip and a foghorn saying, "Faster, more, no brakes. Faster, more, no brakes. Faster, more, no brakes." For a little while, he's going to try, but eventually that worker burns out. That pancreas burns out. And that burnout does have a name for the doctors. It's called beta cell exhaustion. Again, don't need to remember the geek terms when we use them. Burnout of your pancreas is one of the biggest reasons why many people on sulfonylureas eventually end up needing insulin injections. And if you think insulin injections are unsafe, sulfonylureas, even though they're just a pill, are one of the most common causes of hypoglycemia, even more so than many insulin injections. So this is not because the pancreas failed or the patient failed. It's because the medication, the sulfonylureas, sped up pancreatic exhaustion. Section number 3, the metabolic damage most people don't hear about. So here's what most folks never get told. Insulin does not just lower your blood sugar. It's also a fat storage hormone. So when these pills force extra insulin, you end up with more fat storage, less fat burning, increased hunger, stronger carb cravings, and a slower metabolism. You're just going in the exact wrong direction, and this is making it worse long term, not better. It's a deal with the devil. I cannot count the number of patients who've sat across with me saying, "Doc, I'm eating less than ever before. I walk every day, and I just keep getting fatter. The weight keeps climbing." And I tell them, well, sometimes it's not your fault. Sometimes it's the insulin. Sulfonylureas can trap you in a metabolic loop you didn't really sign up for. Section 4, the vicious cycle. Now, here's how that loop works. Number 1, the drug forces more insulin. Number 2, insulin lowers your sugar. Number 3, the sugar drops too low. Number 4, your brain panics because your sugar dropped too low. And when your brain panics with low sugar, what's it say? Eat right now. Lots of sugar, because that's what we need or we're going to collapse. So what do you eat, or what do? You eat, and what do you eat? Sugar. Sugar spikes again. Your body makes even more insulin, and now you're on that vicious insulin spiral of death. More fat gets stored. Even if you get out of the hypoglycemic episode, you're getting way back into a fat storage metabolism. Round and round it goes. And your metabolism gets more and more likely. You get more and more at risk for more and more fat gain and hypoglycemic episodes. And it's not because you lack willpower. In this case, it's because of the medication, those sulfonylureas. They give your body the wrong instructions. Now, let's talk about that complication that does not get nearly enough attention. Hypoglycemia, low blood sugar. This is not something you fix with a quick sip of juice. Yeah, this can change your life in a single moment. It starts very subtly. You don't even notice it. And in fact, that's one of the problems. Your blood sugar starts dropping, your brain starts losing its sensitivity to things like, before you know it, I'm getting shaky. You find out that you're sweaty. You've already gone down that path. You're starting to get lightheaded, confused. You start slurring words. You can't find words. Then your legs start giving out. And with older adults, this can lead to falls, broken bones, hospitalizations, and again, sometimes permanent loss of independence, death, and maybe even, if you're operating machinery, death of others as well. And here's the shocking part. Sulfonylureas are one of the leading causes of drug-related hypoglycemia and even death, more than many forms of insulin. Most people think insulin causes hypos. They don't even think about what should be safer but isn't, the sulfonylureas. You don't need a high dose. Missed meals, age, kidney issues, all of these can tip the scale towards hypoglycemic episodes. And it's not rare. It's built into how these drugs work. So, section number 6, why low sugar is so dangerous. So, your brain runs on glucose. Yes, it can run on ketones too, but especially if you've got glucose available, your brain's going to use it. And then when your sugar drops low, your balance begins to fail. Memory begins to slip. You're not as aware of what's going on either inside your head and body or outside. Your judgment begins to disappear. Reaction time slows down to a crawl. And it's not your mind being fuzzy, it's your brain losing fuel. It takes a while. Your brain can convert over to ketones, but it takes a minute, especially if your brain is used to using sugars. So that's how a simple low sugar episode turns into a fall in the shower, a trip to the ER, an automobile wreck. This is serious, and most people taking these pills really have no idea. Now, there are medications that work better, and we'll talk first about medications, but then we're going to talk about something more important. Let's shift to some medications that work with your metabolism, not against it. There's a couple of different lanes here. First is metformin. Metformin does not force insulin. It simply helps your body use the insulin it already has more effectively. It's like oiling the hinges on a stiff door. Instead of kicking that door open, it's steady, it's gentle, it's predictable, and it doesn't cause hypoglycemic episodes. It doesn't push fat storage. It doesn't burn out your pancreas. It doesn't increase those problems and push you further down the diabetes highway. Large studies show that it actually reduces cardiovascular events. So, yeah, I know I deal with people every day who've heard way too many horror stories about metformin stressing their mitochondria. We've done deep dives on that issue. And if you need a medication, metformin, the way we do it, is not the negative issue that you'll hear on the internet. Be careful who you listen to on YouTube. Now, another couple of groups of medications. SGLT2 inhibitors and GLP-1s. Again, pardon me for the geek terms. You don't need to remember either of these terms, but they're two smarter classes of medications. They don't force insulin at all. SGLT2s help your kidneys. They remove excess sugar. So here's what happens with this drug class, and you may have heard of it with like Jardiance and a couple of those drugs. If your blood sugar goes to a certain level, usually over 100, your kidneys will spill out sugar into your urine, but then they'll start taking that sugar back up. Jardiance, the other SGLT2s, those things will tell your kidney, if you spill sugar, let it spill. Don't pull it back up. Like any medication, they have their own issues, but they're so much safer than sulfonylureas and insulin. So much safer. GLP-1s, same thing. Again, geek terms, don't need to know that. Here, you've heard of the GLP-1s. It's those weight loss medications like Ozempic and Mounjaro. In fact, those medications were not originally developed for weight loss. They were developed, the original use was for diabetes. They help you feel full sooner. You might have known that. Eat less, you should have known that. But they do some great things in terms of your metabolism. They lower your inflammation. They improve metabolic control. And they decrease insulin spikes. Those things are doing the right work for diabetics. So there's so much more safe information, safe medications that are available for diabetics now. A 2024 BMJ, British Medical Journal, open diabetes study showed that both of these drug classes outperformed sulfonylureas in long-term safety and real outcomes. Now, those drug classes, they're not for everybody. They can be expensive. They're getting more and more affordable each month, but if you can afford them, they can improve your metabolism. But you remember, I mentioned earlier that there's something even more important than medications. If you've watched any of my videos, you know where I'm going. Lifestyle, food, and muscle. This is where the real turnaround happens. I've got tons and tons of patients. Before things like the GLP-1s, the new drug classes became available that would lose 30, 50, 150 pounds the right way with lifestyle, and tons of patients that had blood sugars 350 and higher, that using lifestyle, eating the right stuff, doing the right kind of exercise, dropped their blood sugars to 120. Even after a meal, it just never went over 120. Yet they had diabetes to the extent that their blood sugars would go up to 350 if they just ate a few carbs. So here's what they did. First of all, they cut carbs. That cut down insulin spikes. And exercise. They started with just very simple walking, especially after meals. That lets your muscles pull sugar out of the bloodstream where it does damage, especially to your artery wall, and causes plaque and vascular risk, heart attack and stroke risk. Pulls it into the muscle cells where it's safe. And you don't need insulin to do that by just walking. A 10 to 15 minute brisk walk after each meal can lower blood sugar better than many medications. A slow walk is okay. A brisk walk is far, far better. And when you think about it, some quick rehit is even better. Intensity matters. Intensity is helpful. It gives your pancreas a break. As we age, we tend to lose what we call our GLUT4 receptors, our capillaries. Those are our major safety valves against metabolic disease. Now, I use another geek term, GLUT4. You don't need to know it, but it may help you if I explain something. It stands for glucose transporter, number 4. Those GLUT4s don't need insulin. They just pull sugar out of the blood without insulin. They're your best internal safety valve. How do you improve those? Well, yes, there's some supplements, but this is not a supplement issue nearly so much as it is proper exercise. You can get your diet totally dialed in, but you're still losing those capillaries and those GLUT4s unless you're doing HIIT, rehit. That's high-intensity interval work. REHIT is reduced exertion, high-intensity interval work. Getting to where you're pushing your leg muscles, the big muscles in your legs, that helps this process more so than any drug class whatsoever. Resistance work, doing a wall squat, a wall sit, getting your thighs parallel to the ground. Do that for a minute. If you can do it for a minute, work up to 2 minutes. A lunge, get that thigh again parallel to the floor. That's getting low. That's intense. And that helps more than any drug class, any medications. Now, I've worked with people who've completely changed their life, their health, their metabolism once they stepped off that forced insulin roller coaster, that insulin spiral of death. People who thought they were failing when really their medication was pushing them in the wrong direction. The pattern's the same. Once they lower those carbs, start moving their muscles right, and where appropriate, shifted medications, their energy improved, their sugar stabilized, their hunger quieted, and their metabolism finally worked with them again. Now, let's go back and talk about those newer medications, those newer drug classes. There are places where you just can't afford that. You're on a tight budget. You may live in a country where they're just not available. Know that many patients manage their blood sugar well with just diet changes and sometimes metformin, sometimes without metformin. Diet changes and exercise are very affordable. Metformin's also very affordable. These are practical alternatives to sulfonylureas and protect your long-term health. Now, in an upcoming video, we're going to show an example. It's going to be in a couple of weeks. The patient and I did not want to publicly embarrass his doctor, but here's what happened. The patient kept having hypoglycemic episodes. He'd been low carb for over a year. He should no longer be having those hypoglycemic episodes, but he was still having them every few weeks. And in his mind, he thought, well, that's just what should happen. It just happens. And he was having them, not at times when you want to have them. Operating a riding lawnmower, for example, other machinery like trucks. He was still alive, no major damaging events yet. So the doctor figured he must be okay. It must be safe. Meanwhile, risking hypos and machinery, that's not a patient safety experience. That's not safe. We didn't start this fancy new drug classes. He didn't need them. His lifestyle was already there. But we did take him off. His doc had him on a sulfonylurea. His doc logic appeared to be, number one, well, the newer, fancier drug classes are too expensive. And this must be safe for the patient because, he's safe. He hasn't had a car wreck. He hasn't wrecked on his lawnmower operating machinery. So this is practical for this patient. He didn't know that this patient was having these hypoglycemic episodes at dangerous times, creating danger. We talked with the patient. We stopped his sulfonylurea. He didn't need new drugs. He didn't need the fancy drugs. His lifestyle was already there. Now, this is a common mistake that doctors make. They make it all the time. The new meds are too expensive, and there's a hidden dangerous assumption here. Nobody does the lifestyle they need to do. That's wrong. It's flat wrong. The more the patient does the lifestyle they need to do, the more danger these sulfonylureas create. Because again, as you're cutting carbs and increasing your exercise, you're lowering your blood sugar. Now you add on top of it the sulfonylurea that the doc thought was safe because the doc was assuming you were not doing the lifestyle. You're starting with a low blood sugar already and then cranking it lower with that medication, which is already demonstrated. It creates risk when you have low blood sugar already. We talk about docs, and doctors always tend to focus on A1C alone. And that's one of the areas where we get into this problem with the sulfonylureas. They drop your blood sugar. So the doctor sees low blood sugars here, some high there, and they think the average is good. That's all they're looking at, the average. They're not looking at the number. And they're not sitting down, taking the time to focus and see if the patient's having these hypoglycemic episodes. The DECODE study, this is a huge study. It tracked 30,000 adults over many years, and it found that individuals that had these blood sugar swings, these massive increases, and a bunch of these hypoglycemic episodes, they had the same risk of all-cause and cardiovascular death as people with diagnosed diabetes. And these were people in the DECODE study that did not have diabetes. The point is, a normal average does not guarantee safety. Post-meal glucose load excursions matter, and maybe even more so, these low excursions matter. For doctors and patients focused on metabolic health, this makes a strong case of targeting not just A1C or fasting glucose, but also the post-meal peaks, the glucose tolerance, and overall glycemic patterns over time, and especially hypoglycemic episodes. Quit focusing on the average. Think more about the entire patient experience. Before we wrap up, I want to share something I've been working on. It's one of the videos that you'll see. People rarely get a real evaluation of their health. Short appointments, quick scripts, very little testing, lots of confusion, assumptions made by doctors that, as we mentioned, are often dangerous. So I started traveling to patients' homes across the country. Real environments, real conversations, real testing, nothing staged. And we filmed it to help you learn from real people working through real problems. Our first episode shows someone in Texas, follows him. He's facing serious mobility issues and how we helped him turn things around. 48% of U.S. adults have vascular disease. It's the number one cause of heart attack. In this series, I'm traveling all over the country to help people cure their chronic disease.
He has definitely told me, I don't want to live anymore. The pain is too much.
We have to get him walking.
We like to go camping, and she loves to go for walks, and I can't walk very far.
And you can't go?
No.
Harlan's got over 50 years worth of the worst thing you can do to your arteries. Smoking.
I don't really want to scare Harlan and Linda, but I really struggle trying to find the pulse.
It premieres right here on YouTube on December 13th. I hope you'll join us for it. Now, you stayed with us this far. I appreciate it. Let me offer you a few new things that can help people. They've already helped many people with metabolic risk. The first thing is easy, simple, free, and very, very quick. We're saving lives with this channel, and if you'd like to help us save lives, it's very simple. Just click the subscribe button. You'll get our content, but even more so, you'll tell the algorithm and other viewers, this is important, life-saving information. We really appreciate it. Now, if you'd like a clear step-by-step framework for protecting your arteries, you can download it. We've got a free 7-step heart attack prevention guide. It's what I use for myself and for my patients. The link's on the screen below. If you'd like to get your health back and you'd like to get a consultation, you're not getting the help you need from your local providers, maybe you're overwhelmed with conflicting advice that you hear on YouTube. I went through the same process in my own life, and it's why I built our clinical team. If you're ready for support, you can call us at 859-721-1414. Or just click the link. There's a link that you can click. If you're on a TV screen, it's a QR code. If you're not ready for that, there's no pressure. Just start with a free guide. Remember, growing old's not for sissies, but it's a lot easier with healthy arteries and a lot safer.